On the outskirts of a remote village nestled deep within the jungles of South Asia, there lived a man named Damien. Weary of the chaos of city life, he chose to settle in a quiet area far removed from civilization. Each day, Damien wandered through the surrounding wilderness, savoring the tranquility and beauty of nature. One sweltering summer afternoon, as the sun streamed through the dense canopy, Damien heard an unusual sound. It was a muted cry echoing from deep within the jungle, a blend of panic and desperation that sent a shiver down his spine. He paused to listen, trying to discern the source of the noise. It appeared to be emanating from behind an ancient, gnarled banyan tree near a marshy patch. As the cries intensified, filled with urgency, Damien's curiosity compelled him to set down his backpack and move closer. His heart raced with excitement as he navigated through the thick underbrush. The humid jungle air made each breath a challenge, and sharp twigs snagged his clothes, but he pressed on. As he neared the banyan tree, the foliage began to thin out, and the cries became clearer and more agonizing. Finally, after pushing through the last barrier of greenery, Damien was taken aback by what he saw. In a flooded hollow caused by recent heavy rains, a young tiger cub was floundering in the murky water. Its efforts to stay afloat were growing weaker by the second. The cub's big eyes were wide with fear, as all his efforts to save himself from drowning were failing. For a moment, Damien hesitated, evaluating the situation. He was aware that tigers could be perilous, especially when frightened. Yet he also realized that inaction would likely lead to the cub's drowning. Quickly scanning the area for any sign of the cub's mother, he found no clues that she was nearby. With a sense of urgency, Damien cautiously approached the water's edge. He removed his shoes and rolled up his sleeves, bracing himself to wade into the murky pond. His heart raced with every step he took. The water proved deeper than it initially appeared, soaking Damien's clothes and chilling him to the bone. But his focus remained on the struggling cub. Slowly extending his hand, he spoke soothingly. "It's okay, little one. I'm here to help you." The cub, sensing his presence, seemed to calm slightly, its frantic movements slowing. As he got close enough, Damien carefully slipped his hands beneath the water and gently lifted the cub. Surprisingly light, the young tiger trembled from cold and fear. Damien cradled it against his chest, hoping to offer warmth and comfort. Slowly, he made his way back to the shore, carrying his precious burden. Once on dry land, he gently placed the cub down. Although wet and frightened, the cub appeared unharmed. With the immediate danger averted, Damien began to wonder about the whereabouts of the cub's mother. His eyes caught a faint glimmer of metal through the dense foliage nearby. Approaching cautiously, he was met with a distressing sight. The mother tiger was ensnared in a cruel trap. Her hind leg was caught in the iron jaws, chained to a nearby tree. She had been struggling to free herself, but every movement seemed to exacerbate her pain. Her eyes radiated panic and despair as she attempted to reach her cub. Damien's heart sank at the sight. He finally understood why the tigress hadn't come to her cub's rescue. She was trapped and unable to help. Her desperate growls now echoed with anguish. Damien knew he needed to act quickly. He couldn't leave the tigress in this state, yet freeing a wounded wild animal was fraught with danger. He began to assess the trap and its locking mechanism, contemplating how to release the tigress without causing her further distress. But before he could formulate a plan, the crunch of dry leaves and hushed voices reached his ears. His heart raced as he realized someone was approaching. It was likely the individuals who had set the trap. Damien quickly scanned the area, seeking a place to hide with the cub. An encounter with strangers in such a precarious situation could be perilous. In a flurry of movement, he gently tucked the cub into a thicket, ensuring it was well concealed. He then took a position where he could observe the newcomers without being seen. Soon, two men clad in tattered, dirty clothing emerged from the trees, rifles slung across their shoulders and carrying more traps and chains. They were engaged in quiet conversation, unaware of Damien's presence. As they approached the trapped tigress, he overheard them. "Let's check on that tigress," one said, gesturing toward the captive animal. "A pelt like hers could sell for a fortune." A surge of anger boiled within Damien. These were poachers, intent on exploiting wildlife for profit. But what could he do? He was alone and unarmed, while they were equipped and clearly dangerous. As Damien contemplated his limited options, the poachers inched closer to the tigress. She growled and attempted to lunge at them, but the chain held her back. One of the men produced a set of keys, seemingly ready to unlock the trap. In that instant, Damien saw his opportunity. If he could create a distraction, he might be able to free the tigress. He picked up a small stone and tossed it into the bushes a distance away from the concealed cub. The sound caught the poachers' attention. They turned abruptly, rifles at the ready. "What was that?" one whispered. "Go investigate," the other urged, gesturing toward the noise. As one of the poachers moved to check the bushes, Damien seized the moment. He quietly approached the abandoned tools and grabbed a heavy wrench, hoping it could help him release the trap. His heart raced as he moved, aware he had mere seconds before the poachers returned. With swift but careful movements, he approached the tigress. She eyed him warily, but her instincts seemed to recognize that this human meant her no harm. In a low, soothing voice, Damien reassured her, "It's okay. I'm here to help. Just hold on a little longer." After a few tense moments, the lock finally clicked open. The trap released, and the tigress hesitated, seemingly unable to comprehend her newfound freedom. Then, limping slightly, she took a cautious step forward, her gaze fixed on Damien. Just then, the poachers returned, and upon seeing the freed tigress and Damien with the wrench, they froze in disbelief. But the shock was short-lived. One of them raised his rifle, aiming it directly at Damien. "You fool! Do you realize how much that tiger is worth?" the poacher growled. Damien understood he was in grave danger. Slowly, he raised his hands, signaling he meant no harm. "Let's just walk away. No one got hurt, and we can all leave." But the poachers were seething with rage. They advanced toward Damien, their faces contorted with fury. "You've ruined our hunt," spat the second poacher. "Now you'll pay for it." In that moment, Damien grasped the futility of his position. Unarmed and outnumbered, he braced for the worst. Just then, a thunderous roar shattered the tension. The tigress, whom everyone believed had fled, leaped between Damien and the poachers. Her eyes blazed with fury as she assumed a protective stance in front of the man who had liberated her. The poachers recoiled in fear. They had not anticipated a wounded animal would defend a human. The tigress took a menacing step forward, prompting the poachers to flee in panic. As their footsteps faded, the tigress turned her gaze to Damien. Their eyes locked, and in that instant, a silent bond formed between them. The tigress tilted her head slightly, a gesture of gratitude, before making her way toward the bushes where her cub was hidden. Damien watched as the tigress gently nudged her cub, urging it to follow. Together, they slowly vanished into the depths of the jungle, leaving Damien alone with his thoughts. This experience left a lasting impression on Damien. He came to understand that even in his quest for solitude, he could not overlook the challenges facing the natural world. From that day forward, he became more mindful of his surroundings, seeking to balance his need for isolation with the responsibility to protect the environment. Damien began engaging with the villagers, spending more time in the jungle, observing the wonders of nature, and remaining vigilant, always prepared to lend a helping hand when needed. If this video brought a smile to your face, please leave your thoughts in the comments section and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.